Hi, Dr. Jeffrey Fannin here. Today I want to talk a little bit about what's known as GDV, Gas Discharge Visualization. And it's a very technical tool that allows us to look at the energy around a person or around an inanimate object. So if we go back in history and we go back to 1777, there was a German physicist and philosopher named George Lichtenberg. And he found that when you took any object and you put it in the vicinity of a strong electrical field, that he could see a glow around that particular object. Well, this really fascinated him. And so he began to do a little bit of work about, what this corona or this aura was, and I began to look at that. It got lost for a number of years. And so in 1939, this got rediscovered by Simeon Kirill, a Russian electrician. He rediscovered this phenomenon, both he and his wife, Valentina, and they began to explore the possibility, looking at the significance of the colored auras or the coronas that they found surrounding various objects that they had photographed. Some were inanimate objects, hands, leaves, things like that, before they began to look at this energy that was coming off of a human being. So gas discharge visualization was born about that time and began to look at the electrical activity around the human organism. So GDV is really a technique or a method that we use combining both Eastern medicine and Western philosophy in how we look at these. So in 1995, Dr. Konstantin Korotkov developed the GDV Kirillian camera that we use today. Now, I've had opportunities to work with Dr. Korotkov several times and have some great conversations with him. He's a wonderful person. And I remember we were having some conversations and I was asking him, well, you're reporting this in joules, and how does it get converted to biophotonic energy and blah, 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 those kinds of things. I guess he got pretty frustrated with me because the next morning he came down to breakfast and he brought one of his books. He had signed it for me. He said, "Here, read the damn book." And so he was just toying with me a little bit. But I found a lot of the answers in the book and some of the writings that Dr. Korotkov had made throughout the years. And so I began to study what this was all about and looking at that. And so I'm fortunate enough today to have some equipment and use this almost on a daily basis in looking at a person's GDV, gas discharge visualization. Let's talk a little bit about the process itself. So when somebody comes to me and we use the GDV camera, and so we have them put their finger down on the lens, and as they put it there, it shoots a 10 millivolt charge, which is very, very small. You don't even feel that. And so it shoots that charge up on the finger and causes the gas discharge to appear. Now you'll notice in these pictures that they have these demarcations and numbers, and it's helping us understand what parts of the body are dealing with that, or which organ systems in the body that are associated with that particular. So we measure both the left hand and the right hand. And first we do that without a filter to measure the emotional energy. Then we put a polyurethane filter over the lens so that we can dampen the galvanic skin response that a person is seeing there, so we can measure the physical energy. So one of the first things we do is we measure the finger captures of the left hand and the right hand. Then we put the filter on, and we're able to look at the physical energy of those finger captures. One of the things that does is it then takes that information and transposes it into a digital graphic form, so we can look at the energy field around a person, and both the emotional and physical energy, and we can see if there are any breaks and where those are happening. And those breaks are showing us that we are lacking energy in some form as we look at that. So one of the other things we will do is then take that information and go to what's called a diagram. And the diagram is two circumplexes that are side by side. Around the outside are the organs or the body systems that it's measuring. And then it has three concentric circles. The first one is yellow, and that indicates that if something is coming in out there, that there's too much energy that is happening with that organ or that body system. Then we look at the next part of that, which is the middle circle, which is in the green, and that's the normal range. That's where we want things. And then the third part is the pink circle in the center, which would indicate that there's not enough energy based on the normative database there. And so we will look at those. Then we see both red and blue. The red is showing the emotional energy and the blue is showing the physical energy. So that we can see how that's adapting to different parts and different systems of the body. The next thing we take a look at is called integral area and integral entropy. As we look at that, we're looking on the left side, which is the emotional, and the right side, which is a physical. Now, integral area is when it's looking at how are we generating the biophotonic energy in our body. If it's in the green, then we know that we're doing it well. When we look at integral entropy means how well are we using that energy, both emotionally and physically, within our body. The third part of that is we look at what we call the activation coefficient. This is how we're handling stressors in our life. And probably 80 to 90% of the people, when I first measure them, will be down here in the pink area, meaning that they are in the protection zone. They're protecting their energy. They're not dealing with stress that well. They're not balanced. Their chakras are not balanced, that sort of thing. And so the last measure that we take and look at from these finger captures are the chakra centers. So when we look at the chakras, we can see whether they're in line, whether they're balanced, whether they're imbalanced, and how much energy is in each of the chakras. So the size of the ball will tell us how much energy is there. A larger ball means it has more energy, and a smaller ball means it has less. And then if we look over on the right side, it will show us for each of the chakra centers what that measurement actually is in a numeric value, so we can see how much energy is in the chakras. And from this, we can begin to look at how do we get it rebalanced. So if it's off-centered to the left, it means that there are issues in the individual social environment that are causing that. And if it's off-centered to the right, it means that it's something in their inner circle that is off, or whoever that happens to be in their inner circle. And so we can look at the alignment, we can look at the amount of energy, and we can see exactly what's going on with the individual. And we're able to look at that in relationship to the heart and the brain electromagnetic centers, so that we can see what it is we actually need to do to bring this back into balance. And I'll talk more about that in another section.